So welcome everybody to our regular Thinking Thursday. And it's always a pleasure for us to have wonderful guests who enlighten us with their knowledge. And today we have Sangita ji with us. Sangita has had a 36-year-long career in human resource in the corporate sector. She has headed HR and managed large teams and is now a freelance HR consultant and advisor. She has worked with almost 15 different industries and in corporates such as Tata's, ABM AMRO, Airtel, and Reliance. She's keenly interested in counseling and psychotherapy and uses her knowledge in her professional sphere. Boundaries is a subject which is close to her heart, and as she speaks on it when conducting workshops on POSH. I didn't know about POSH till Sangita told me that POSH is actually basically prevention of sexual harassment. And I think, Sangita, it's a very relevant area where possibly boundaries plays a very important role. We'd love if you can throw some light on your experience of years that you've had with this particular employees which are sexually harassed, I guess. And that's where you must be training them on boundaries so that they can continue working and not feel threatened. So Sangita is an extremely humble person. I think she does a lot of interesting work, but doesn't talk about it. And I think today is the day for her to talk about this work that she does. And I think it's very important. Boundaries by itself as a subject is very important for all of us. Whether you are a housewife, a mother, a daughter, a son, a husband, encroaching of boundaries, I think, happens all the time, whether it's in your workplace or in your marital relationship or your parental relationship or with friends, and how to protect yourself so that, you don't lose your self-esteem. I think, Sangita, that is very important in life. So I hand it over to Sangita, and I was going to talk to us about this very interesting subject. I will recommend that all of you please mute yourself so that we don't have to keep muting you. And after Sangita speaks, maybe as and when she wishes, she can open the floor to questions. Okay, so over to you, Sangita. Thank you. Sangita, you'll need to unmute yourself so that...
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
so thank you so much for the introduction. Very kind of you to say such sweet things about me. And like everybody here who's present as well as who's part of the Thinking Thursday group, I know that each one of us here has a tremendous amount of love and regard for Tripti ji. I mean, one just falls in love with her, and I've known her for some years. And I go to her every time I feel lost, and she's my go-to person. Though she's so busy that it's difficult to get hold of her sometimes. So thank you for this platform. This is the second time that I will be speaking on the same subject. मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश में बोलने की कोशिश करूंगी so that सबको comfortable लगे. और अगर कोई भी मुझे बीच में ही सवाल पूछना चाहता है तो please put up your hands and I'll be happy to answer. So like Tripti ji said that boundaries are very relevant to us in all the relationships that we have in our lives and all the roles that we play, not just in organizations. And as intimate, especially in the close relationships are always the pain areas for us, right? And I think those pain areas really come from the fact that our boundaries get encroached. Either we encroach or somebody else encroaches. And the fundamental thing is the boundaries are maintained only when there is respect. And like I We all know that more than love, if there's anything that we all seek and expect in a relationship, is a respect. So we will just try and we'll go through this. फिर से हम जो शायद 1.5 साल पहले मैंने इस पे टॉक दिया था, तो हम फिर से उसको रिफ्रेश करेंगे. लेकिन मैं आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट माई सेल्फ इन टर्म्स ऑफ, मुझे ये बाउंड्री का कनेक्शन, ये कॉन्सेप्ट से इतना गहरी तरह कनेक्ट हुआ जब मैंने करीब 4 साल पहले उसके बारे में सुना, एक वर्कशॉप अटेंड किया. एंड आउट ऑफ ऑल द ज्ञान दैट हम लोग बार बार या बुक्स के द्वारा या वर्कशॉप्स के द्वारा सुनते हैं, एंड वी फील अ कनेक्ट, बट बाउंड्रीज रियली रेजोनेटेड विद मी. क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि मेरे जीवन में बचपन से मैंने जो भी इमोशनल बैगेज मैंने खुद कैरी किया है, उसमें उसकी वजह से मेरे बाउंड्रीज इतने पोरस हुआ करते थे या रहते ही नहीं थे कि मुझे बार बार हर क्लोज रिश्ते में, फ्रेंडशिप में चाहे हो या कॉलीग्स के साथ हो, आई यूज्ड टू गो थ्रू अ लॉट ऑफ पेन because I would do and give so much and be so available that I never really understood that I was completely disrespecting and disregarding my own needs and my own self and my being. So I'm sure all of you all, will relate to this concept. So I'll just start. So let's understand what a boundary. So basically, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves. जब हम लोग बहुत all this knowledge and this gyan and this seeking attitude has come into the world, I think more in the last 20 years and especially in the last 10 years. We've all become very aware and conscious कि हम कौन है, self, the importance of loving ourselves. ये सब जो रियलाइजेशन हो रहा है, ये ज्यादा आई थिंक इन द लास्ट 10 years. एंड हम बहुत फॉर्चुनेट है क्योंकि our generation has become more aware. There is more being written, more research being done. Psychologists are doing so much good work which is helping all of us. And because if we look at अपने parents का generation भी जब देखते हैं, कभी कभी even today when I see the things my mother does and she goes so out of her way, and sometimes I feel she really lacks self-love. She doesn't think she's important enough. And sometimes it can really put you off, because even when your loved ones are so sacrificing, so tolerating, and you feel that where is their self-regard and self-esteem? इतना क्यों करते हैं वो? So let's try and understand, that what is, and I think this is all about self-love, because otherwise people think self-love is about taking care of your body alone. Of course, it's also about taking care of your body, but self-love is really about speaking up and drawing your boundaries. So what are boundaries? Let's try and understand. So very simple. It's not rocket science. हम सब जानते हैं. It's not that आज जो मैं बोलने वाली हूँ कुछ तो बहुत great and कुछ नया है वगैरह. हम सब ये जानते हैं कि boundaries are basically those things that define who we are. It can be honesty defines me, wanting transparency in a relationship defines me, expecting honesty, straightforwardness defines me, love defines me, whatever. So boundaries are basically saying what is okay to me and what is not okay for me. What is me, who am I, that clarity, वो जो हमारी एक गरिमा या I don't know if garima is the right word, but मैं कौन हूं ये जानना also is a boundary. कि मैं ये इस तरह की person हूँ, इस तरह का इंसान हूँ. And this is nothing to do only with women. It's nothing to do with gender. Like Tripti ji very rightly said, it can even men suffer a lot of lack of boundaries, and as a consequence of that, they also go through a lot of suffering. So it's just about being aware of who I am, what I stand for, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable to me, what is good and what in my space, whether it is my psychological space, it's my emotional space, it's my physical space, what is okay, what will I allow to come inside my space and what will have to stay out. It's the in essence, we want to sustain this, and it is all about empathy. So basically, like we talk a lot about empathy, this is genuinely about saying compassion and empathy. Do people really respect who I am and what my needs are? Okay. Likewise, of course, it has to be reciprocating in terms of we should be very sensitive and aware whether we are crossing boundaries, others' boundaries. Like sometimes I see even in our conversations on the WhatsApp group, it's very nice to have healthy debates and discussions, but sometimes unknowingly, maybe not deliberately, we all cross boundaries. We get so carried away trying to make a point that we show disrespect and disregard or sensitivity towards the others. So genuine compassion is what defines one of the definitions of boundaries. So this is a this ये जो end में सब ये statement है, we are responsible to others and for ourselves. Okay, so we are responsible. Obviously, हमारे इर्द गिर्द में, हमारी जिंदगी में जो लोग हैं, अपने पेरेंट्स हैं, सिबलिंग्स हैं, स्पाउसेस हैं, फ्रेंड्स हैं, कॉलीग्स हैं, we are responsible towards them. उनको कुछ बुरा हो रहा है, उनके साथ वो कुछ wrong कर रहे हैं, तो it's our moral responsibility to correct them, to show them the mirror, to guide them, to listen to them, all of that. But the first and foremost responsibility that we have is towards ourselves, because until we are sorted, unless our boundaries are very clearly defined and we define it and let others know what they are, we are never going to be really, what should I say, more effective people. Because we will, as we progress and understand the various aspects of boundaries, we'll realize that all the baggage that we keep talking about has really come because people have encroached our boundaries and we've allowed them, obviously out of ignorance. Because जब हम छोटे होते हैं, अगर हमारे साथ कोई से बदतमीजी से बात करता है, हमको बार बार चिढ़ाता है, कुछ तो it could be something as simple as जो अभी इतना नहीं होता लेकिन पहले बहुत होता था, मोटेपन के ऊपर से हमको रिडिक्यूल किया जाता था, अरे मोटी है, अरे चश्मिश है, like they seemed innocent comments, but they could be very painful, and that is also like crossing of boundaries. So we have to be responsible to ourselves. As children, maybe we were not so aware, so we didn't speak up, and yet we see that sometimes even very little children, infants भी देखे हम कभी हम देखते हैं, suppose एक हम कहीं पे जा रहे हैं, it can be in an elevator या कोई function में एक बहुत छोटा बच्चा किसी ने hold किया है, and हम उसको बच्चे को ऐसे cheeks पे हाथ लगाते हैं, या कभी ऐसे we're so excited to see, because we love children, we want to touch the child, and the child can be irritated and push us away. What is the child doing is setting the boundary and making it very clear that I do not want to be touched by you. And that might seem very small and insignificant, but that is a very, very significant thing, that naturally life has given us the ability to draw boundaries. But sometimes because of our upbringing, because at least in the older days, we become more vocal, we are allowed to be more vocal, we tell our children, speak up for yourself. Lekin purane zamane mein humko hamesha, the epitome of good human being was a very tolerant person. Kitna bhi अत्याचार होता होगा, बहुत सह लेना, बोलना नहीं और आवाज नहीं करना, because अगर तुम बोल के बताते हो तो तुम बहुत rude और arrogant कहलाते थे. So all these things, basically, I think somebody needs to be admitted. Sorry. Okay. So whilst we should be responsible and feel responsible for people around us in our lives, even in society, even just as citizens, when we are walking on the street, we are carrying a sense of responsibility that nobody should be hurt when we are walking, when we are driving, we should be careful, when we're crossing the road, we should ensure everybody around us is also safe and things like that. But the first and foremost responsibility that we all have is towards ourselves. So 6 healthy boundaries, or rather boundaries in the various areas of our lives, is personal boundaries, intellectual boundaries, emotional boundaries, sexual boundaries, material boundaries, and time boundaries. I'm sure this is very understandable and self-explanatory. If I have to give an example, personal boundaries is, I do not like to be ridiculed, or suppose, somebody has a nickname that they've carried, which was, after you grow up, you find it a little embarrassing. Okay, like some people have nicknames like, what should I say happy, or I've heard that some people have a nickname. Sorry, Shakuntala ji?
Appu.
Pappu, yeah, correct. And when you grow up and you realize Pappu is actually a little ridiculous, this, and you don't like to be, and people call you Pappu, you don't like it. It's perfectly all right to let people know that sorry. And if they tease you and they think they think it's funny and they're being friendly by calling you Pappu all the time, and you don't like it, you have every right to say, I'm sorry, but I don't like it, right? So it's a personal boundary that somebody's encroaching. Intellectual, your thoughts and opinions are not as good as mine because I know better, I'm better read. And if somebody is condescending and constantly giving you that feeling, जो बार-बार हमको ये जताते हैं कि वो जो उनकी सोच हमारी सोच से बेहतर है, या वो ज्यादा जानते हैं, और ये subtle ho ya obvious ho, they are encroaching a boundary. Emotional, we all know, manipulations, emotional, it's saying, making you feel like you owe them a lot, making you feel guilty, कि हमने तो कितना किया है तुम्हारे लिए. Like sometimes parents do that a lot, कि कितना sacrifice किया, and you can just walk away and not care for us. I mean, of course, they should care for parents. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm just saying when you use it, you're encroaching a boundary. Sexually, being touched, using gross language, using cuss words when that other person is not comfortable. So like Tripti ji was saying, if I could share, so I will stop here and speak a little bit about what our experiences in corporates have been. That there have been so many instances, and in the various organizations, we, of course, have been very fortunate. I must say that it has never happened with me personally. Okay, so possibly my understanding is that the manner in which I conduct myself and the way I behave, I come across as a person who will not tolerate nonsense. So that's why maybe some people have not taken liberties. Of course, when much younger, maybe some people have, in a very subtle way tried to misbehave. But from the experience of what I've observed, जो हमने companies में बहुत बार देखे हैं, कि it's not about a man and a woman, but mostly it is men, and especially men who are in power. So they might not be very senior, but definitely the person who's at the receiving end, जिसकी तरफ वो harassment होता है, वो mostly उनका junior होता है या क्रॉस फंक्शनली जूनियर होते हैं, यानी वो उनसे उम्र में या हुद्दे में जूनियर होते हैं. सो इट मे नॉट बी कि वो उनके ऊपर पाउंस करते हैं या उनको हाथ लगाते हैं और दैट इज सेक्सुअल हैरेसमेंट. इट कैन बी समथिंग एज सटल एज sending obscene messages, or you constantly using cuss words, यानी bad words use करना. Now हम सब यूनिक है और हम सबकी सेंसिबिलिटीज अलग है. हम शायद जिनके साथ बहुत क्लोज हैं, like suppose I'm a female and I have a lot of male friends who are my जिगरी दोस्त, मैं उनसे शायद नॉटी जोक्स सुनना कुछ नहीं समझूंगी, मुझे वो अपसेट नहीं करता या डिस्टर्ब नहीं करता. लेकिन जिनको मैं अच्छी तरह नहीं जानती, वो सिर्फ मुझे दूर से मेरे कॉलीग्स हैं और आई हैव अ फॉर्मल प्रोफेशनल रिलेशनशिप, एंड दे टेक द लिबर्टी टू टॉक डर्टी और यूज ऑब्सीन वर्ड्स डेलिबरेटली in front of me or in a conversation, and it upsets me. Even that is sexual harassment. So that is crossing a boundary, because the recipient is not feeling disturbed, is feeling what is the term, Okay, it doesn't come to me now, but it's
Discomfort.
Sorry?
Discomfort. Discomfort.
Discomfort, and I feel
Insulted, feels insulted.
not insulted.
Humiliated.
Okay, it's not coming. There was a movie by that name. So it's basically saying, yeah, disturbed. I feel disturbed every time I'm listening.
Awkward. I feel awkward.
Awkward, yeah. So yeah,
Violated.
word breached. Okay, so I feel like breached. You know, it's feeling like somebody's taking me for granted and assuming that I'm comfortable, and actually can see that I'm disturbed and it is upsetting me, and yet continuing to do that. Okay, so there have been several investigations that I have been part of, and also as a head of HR, I have dealt with, where, you know, under the guise of being friendly, naughty, playful, people constantly say offensive things. And they say it so casually that if you turn around, and if the person who was at the receiving end turned around and said, I'm sorry, I mean, I don't like it, they say, Arey, you're so old-fashioned and you're so boring. Arey, this is quite okay, yaar. So, but it is not okay for me. So when it is not okay for me, you're using bad words, even if it's cool for everybody else, but it's not okay for me, I have every right to let you know and stop you from that. And if you don't take the message, then escalate it. यानी कंपनी में अगर मुझे ऐसे मेरे colleagues ऐसे जब बैठते हैं, गंदी बातें करते हैं, मुझे comfortable नहीं लगता. शायद दूसरों को ठीक लगता होगा, कह रहे it's very cool, लेकिन मुझे ठीक नहीं लगता, और मैं ये बताती हूँ, and फिर भी वो इंसान बार बार वो बोलता है और मुझे वो डिस्कम्फर्ट में डालते हैं. मुझे राइट है बताने का, और अगर वो नहीं सुनते और अपना बिहेवियर चेंज नहीं करते, तो आई हैव एवरी राइट टू एस्केलेट इट टू द राइट अथॉरिटीज. सो हर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में गवर्नमेंट ने, बिकॉज बहुत सेंसेशनल बड़ी बड़ी केसेस हुए हैं ग्लोबली, we know of them, you know, somebody very senior in INFOSYS in the US had been exposed. So there have been a lot of such exposures, because of which the government has now made it mandatory in every organization of a certain minimum size to have a POSH committee. It's called Prevention of Sexual Harassment. कि सबको हक है इस कंपनी में, इस दुनिया में, सोसाइटी में कंफर्टेबल और रिस्पेक्टेड फील करना. जब भी उनको लगता है कि ये उनकी सैंक्टिटी, उनका स्पेस ब्रीच हो रहा है, they have every right to complain. इसलिए, and that has made a lot of difference, because now the culture is changing. People are, and because of these committees, a lot of girls are, I mean, mostly it has been girls, unfortunately, or fortunately, who have to complain. And the things that they tell us, it is shocking that very senior people, even at the level of vice president sometimes, the way they speak to them, casually touching and talking, then you know, sometimes because you're junior, you're young, awkward feel hota hai कि नहीं कैसे बताऊं, ये तो बहुत senior है, शायद उनका मतलब बुरा नहीं होगा, लेकिन जब वो बार बार करते हैं and आपको वो सही नहीं लगता, so there is a place that they can go and complain. Fortunately now in the corporates, so that solves a lot of problem. People feel open, they feel comfortable to complain. लेकिन ये कभी कभी मुझे लगता है families में नहीं होता, कभी कभी हमारे इतने गहरे रिश्तों में नहीं होता कि we are not able to speak. We means we can go and become social activists sometimes. I've seen people, they are at very senior positions. Women I've seen who are at very, very senior positions. I knew of a lady who was the chief operating officer, number 2 in an organization. And when one got to know her, one came to know that she had been at the receiving end of a lot of physical abuse from her husband. But outwardly, the person comes across as very confident, who's counseling others on very critical matters, is running the business, is running, you know, and heading an organization with hundreds and thousands of people, but is not able to draw her boundaries or his boundaries in the personal, most intimate relationship. So this happens in life and in the world. And that's why it's so important कि हम सब समझे कि boundaries कितनी important होती है draw करना. What's the Hindi word? I'm so sorry, I'm not able to say. Boundary के लिए क्या शब्द यूज कर सकते हैं?
सीमा, सीमा,
सीमा।
सीमा, हाँ सीमा, अपनी सीमाएं, अपनी रेखाएं ड्रॉ करना, समझना, उसको सबको बताना, जताना बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है. मटीरियल बाउंड्रीज, सिली थिंग्स लाइक सम पीपल जस्ट टेक यू फॉर ग्रांटेड. ये मुझे ना बहुत अच्छा लगता है, मैं तो लेके जाऊंगी. इट कैन बी अ सिंपल पेन, यू नो, लाइक बस अब, या हमसे बोरो किया और वापस ही नहीं किया, क्योंकि उनको लगता है अरे तुम्हारे पास तो कितना सब है ना, तो ले लिया और रख लिया तो क्या हुआ. करेक्ट. So that's also encroaching a boundary. Time. कोई लोग हमको, and especially for those of us who are in the habit of being, what do you call them, sounding boards and shoulders to cry on. हमको बहुत अच्छा लगता है सबका दुख सुनना, उनकी क्या प्रॉब्लम्स है उनको काउंसिल करना. ये जिनकी आदत होती है, कभी कभी उनके जिंदगी में ऐसे कोई लोग आ जाते हैं जो जब भी उनसे मिलते हैं इतना वक्त लेते हैं खुद के बारे में बात करने को, और वो रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करते कि शायद इनको इस वक्त वो मेंटल वेवलेंथ में नहीं है, या वेव बैंडविथ नहीं है सुनने का, या इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, क्योंकि हम बार बार उनकी वही स्टोरी सालों साल कभी कभी सुनते हैं. बट बिकॉज वी डोंट नो हाउ टू ड्रॉ बाउंड्रीज, we are awkward to tell them that, you know, enough, thank you, I've listened to you and I know it's your pain, but you've told me and this was my advice, and if you're not going to change, then you'll have to bear with it, but you can't be telling me that forever and for so long. So ये ऐसे लोग भी बहुत मिलते हैं हमको जिंदगी में जो हमारी टाइम की बाउंड्री को ब्रीच करते हैं. So this is what boundaries are. Knowing very clearly what I stand for, what I will accept inside my space and what I will not accept. And so this is us at the core of our lives. Our immediate people in our lives are our partners, spouses. It could be our parents, it could be our siblings, our children. Then the slightly outer boundaries has our friends, families, neighbors, acquaintances, and everybody else. There's just a graphical representation of our spaces. So sense of ownership and responsibilities. So we are, this is very important, this first line. We are responsible to others, but we are not responsible for them. ये बहुत subtle है, ये समझना बहुत important है. Like suppose हमारे शायद spouse है या sibling है या बच्चा है, okay, हम देख रहे हैं कि वो कोई तो एक गलती करते हैं. सपोज वो फिट नहीं है, या वो बहुत टाइम वेस्ट करते हैं, या वो बहुत ही जंक फूड खाते हैं और हमेशा अनहेल्दी रहते हैं. करेक्ट. सो एक हद तक इट इज आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू एडवाइज देम, सेइंग यू नो व्हाट, आई थिंक you're not taking care of yourself and I think you need to eat better, more healthy food, or you should spend your time in a better manner, or whatever, you know, that they are doing wrong. You can tell them for a while, you can support them for a while, but beyond a point, you cannot become so responsible that you spoil them. And this is exactly what if we look, हम अगर देखते हैं हमारी जिंदगी में वो लोग या बच्चे हो या अडल्ट्स हो जो हमको लगते हैं बहुत टैंट्रम्स थ्रो करते हैं, दे आर वेरी डिसफंक्शनल, या लोगों को, उनके इर्द गिर्द के लोगों को बहुत तकलीफ पहुंचाते हैं. आई थिंक दैट दे आर पीपल हुज बाउंड्रीज हैव नॉट बीन सेट, और they have not been, they've been like pampered to an extent where we can actually say that their parents are responsible for not showing them the importance of being responsible for their own selves. Because you can't be so responsible that you spoil the person. I will do it for you. Okay, I will wake you up. Suppose it's a child who never wakes up on time and is always late, you know, and reaching for classes or whatever it is. We can like set the alarm for them. We can wake up early and wake them up and whatever. But if we are going to do that for life, is it sustainable? Is it fair? Is it fair to you? Is it fair to them? Because what we are doing by being so responsible is that we are not teaching them the importance of being responsible or owning up for their own behavior and being responsible for their all the consequences of their, ill behavior or their indiscipline or whatever it is. So we are responsible to others, but we are not responsible for others. We are only responsible for ourselves. So when we start taking responsibility for others, what happens is हम कितने भी like कोई लोगों का bandwidth बहुत ज्यादा होता है sacrifice करना और केयर करने में बहुत होता है, वो बहुत सह ले सकते हैं, वो बहुत कर सकते हैं दूसरों के लिए, उनका इमोशनल क्वोशंट बहुत हाई होता है, लेकिन वो we are all human, if you have to do the same sacrifice and being responsible for somebody for few months, weeks, years, it is very natural that we will become resentful. हमको कहीं पे वो दर्द होने लगेगा कि मैं इतना करती हूँ या इतना करता हूँ, लेकिन इस इंसान को कभी भी वो रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं हो रहा है और मुझे उसकी तकलीफ होने लगी है. So and also it also deprives us of freedom, of time, of thinking, of space, and we make others very irresponsible. Jo I was talking about, we see people who, children who are spoiled and who are too pampered get spoiled, right? So they become very irresponsible. They never take care. They don't take care of themselves ever. Meaning they take care in a selfish way. So if they are irresponsible towards themselves, how will they ever grow up to become sensitive, responsible adults, right? So we damage others by being too responsible. How often do we feel responsible for others' feelings? Is it a project? Yeah, it becomes a project. हमको ऐसे बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं projects, especially women who are very emotional, sentimental. They love it. नहीं, मैं समझाऊंगी, मैं ख्याल रखूंगी. And वो ख्याल रखने में sometimes हम इतना बह जाते हैं कि वो boundaries नहीं रहते हमारी खुद की, और हम इतना कर जाते हैं कि we may create a person who becomes completely dysfunctional sometimes. So boundaries होना यानी खुद को प्यार करना, खुद का ख्याल रखना. And this is very important for our health also, not just for our mental health, but also physical health. If you are tired, to say that, I'm doing so much work and I'm doing it, most of the work, and now I can't do beyond this. I need to rest, and please do the rest of it. I'm taking a break. It's perfectly all right to say, but we don't say it. We find it so difficult to say. It's that, traditionally we always said, learn to say no. This is one part of it. So we cannot base our worthiness on others, because somewhere this doing and sacrificing and being so available and going beyond our call of duty and beyond and being there for everybody, being a listener, being the doer, being the giver, comes from somewhere from a lack of self-worth, self-esteem. Somewhere we have learned that to achieve or to get the love and respect of others, हमको बहुत घिसना पड़ता है. हमको जब बहुत करेंगे, हम बहुत देंगे, बहुत sacrifice करेंगे, तब हमें प्यार मिलेगा, तब लोग हमको regard और respect देंगे. ये हमको कहीं पे subconsciously बचपन में या तो relatives ने, parents ने, grandparents ने, ये या तो उनका बिहेवियर देख के हमने, वो रोल मॉडल से हमने ये देखा है कि जब वो बहुत करते हैं, लोग उनकी बहुत प्रशंसा करते हैं, और वो प्रशंसा उनको इतनी प्रेशियस लगती है. मीन्स वो थक जाते हैं, उनको कहीं पे अंदर बुरा लगता है कि मैं ही करती हूँ, फिर भी उनको ये जब लोग बोलते, वो ना बहुत केयरिंग है, हाँ वो बहुत करती है लोगों के लिए, वो ना हमेशा खाना बना के, वो कभी भी जाओ ना वो हमको प्यार से खाना खिलाती है. लेकिन क्या दूसरे उनके लिए उतना करते हैं, ये कोई नहीं देखता. लेकिन उस मोमेंट में जब उनकी प्रशंसा होती है, या when they get that appreciation, they are very touched and pleased, and that keeps them going. And so their boundaries are always very low or non-existent, and they continue to suffer in silence. To the extent that I've seen some people don't even realize, like when you watch somebody who is being taken for granted, कि उनसे सब लोग सिर्फ ले रहे हैं, उनका वक्त, उनका इमोशंस, उनका अफेक्शन. एंड इफ यू टेल देम कि आप कितना करते हो, बस करो, क्या दूसरे आपके लिए करते हैं? तो बोलते नहीं नहीं, ऑफ कोर्स उनको हमारे लिए बहुत रिस्पेक्ट है, लेकिन अगर देखा जाए तो कोई रेसिप्रोकेट कर नहीं रहा होता है उनको. उनको कोई वापस वो उसी लेवल का प्यार, अफेक्शन या टाइम या जो भी है, मटेरियल चीजें हैं, शायद गिफ्ट्स है, सपोज लाइक सम पीपल गिफ्ट अ लॉट, they don't get anything in return, yet they keep on gifting because somewhere subconsciously they have learned कि जब मैं बहुत करूंगी ना फिर मुझे प्यार मिलेगा, तो मुझे करते ही रहना पड़ता है. Okay, so we can always say, and however much हमने अभी तक जो भी अपनी उम्र है, अगर हमने ये रियलाइज करने लगे हैं अभी कि हाँ, मैंने पूरी जिंदगी में बाउंड्रीज ही नहीं क्रिएट किए मेरे, और मैं अब जब पीछे देखती हूँ या देखता हूँ, मुझे ऐसे कितना एहसास हो रहा है अभी कि आई हैव बीन टेकन सो मच फॉर ग्रांटेड बाय माय ओन पीपल. इट इज नेवर एवर लेट to start drawing those boundaries. It's absolutely possible even at 80, if you have become aware that my boundaries are very low and I have not drawn them and I've been taken for granted, used emotionally, physically, in whatever way, I can always learn to draw my boundaries. From now onwards, we can say enough or say stop only when we truly believe we are enough. Ye jo we are enough, I am complete and I'm enough irrespective of whether I sacrifice and people admire me and appreciate me. ये हमको सीखना बहुत जरूरी है. हम सबको inadequacy का फीलिंग है, हम कितने भी talented, it goes with me as well. I mean, हम कितना भी अचीव किया हो, हमने प्रोफेशनली हो या हमने we've been good friends, we've been good daughters or sons, and we've been good husbands or wives, हमको फिर भी कहीं पे लगता है but I'm all that good. I'm always looking around and say they are better, see they are more popular, they are more loved, maybe they deserve more love. So we always feel that we are not enough. And I think all this self-worth, lack of self-worth, lack of self-esteem is what really causes us not to draw the boundaries. And so we need to have the courage to love ourselves. Means we have to love ourselves. And means I must share this, that when I did the workshop with Tripti ji on past life regression, somewhere I had not got that clarity about why self-love is important. I used to sometimes always think it's vanity. Means, kya hai self-love? Because somewhere, जैसे हम सबकी upbringing में है कि subconsciously कि sacrificing, being generous to the core, giving, not expecting anything, and giving to means बिल्कुल ऐसे क्या burnout हो जाओ, इतने extent पे करो. ये जो मैंने खुद किया है कोई लोगों के लिए, that is true love. And मुझे ये self love का concept ऐसे लगता था थोड़ा vanity है. Means ये जरा कुछ ज्यादा हो है, it's all about I, me, myself, and it's a little selfish. But when I did her course and so many techniques and activities and the concepts when she explained, that is when I suddenly got, and that is when I feel I really understood what self love is. This जैसे हम अपने most जिनको हम बहुत प्यार करते हैं, it can be a parent or our spouse or child, जिनको हम सबसे ज्यादा प्यार करते हैं, हम जितना उनको प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं, उनके लिए करते हैं, उनके लिए अगर उन पे अत्याचार हो रहा है तो हम उनके लिए खड़े होके किसी और से झगड़ा करते हैं, वो उतना ही प्यार और रिस्पेक्ट हमको अपने आप से करना है, as if looking at ourselves as if we are outside, like that triangle of we are made of mind, body, and soul. So that soul, that is the purest form, and the godliness or the Buddha or whatever we talk about, is that entity which is waiting for us to realize that like everybody else in this universe and the world is important, so are you. Are you even looking at yourself with the same empathy and compassion? when you realize that, oh my God, I'm responsible to look at my own self with love, empathy, compassion, and respect, that is when you will start becoming very aware and start automatically drawing your boundaries. You don't need to know techniques. You will not tolerate nonsense. You will speak up when you are being taken for granted. And that will come very naturally to you. And that is when, thanks to Tripti ji and in that workshop, that realization came. And really now I've become, I think, even more assertive. Assertive even with the people whom I love so dearly, from whom I've tolerated so much nonsense. Today, I'm able to very nicely draw my boundaries and say, sorry, this is not acceptable to me. And that has only made my relationship stronger. And it was very difficult for me to comprehend. मुझे ये समझ में नहीं आता था कि how do they say that stronger your boundaries, more intimate your relationships get? How can it be? Because बाउंड्रीज नहीं होने पे ही तो प्यार होता है. कोई बाउंड्री नहीं होनी चाहिए. हम इतने एक दूसरे में घुल मिल जाने चाहिए. But we forget that we are all individuals finally. Those same individuals whom we love so dearly can sometimes turn around and say, but sorry, this is not acceptable. Sorry, I don't agree with you. Sorry, I have other priorities. And we are very hurt because we made them our ultimate priorities. And we completely forgot the most important entity of our lives, which is our own selves. So having the courage to love ourselves is very important for all of us. So what stops us from setting boundaries? We all know this. हमको लगता है वो नाराज हो जाएंगे और अपना रिश्ता टूट जाएगा. पेरेंट्स हो तो फिर वो उनको दूसरा कोई ज्यादा अच्छा लगेगा, या वो हमको उतना नहीं मानेंगे, या वो उतना प्यार नहीं करेंगे. So we are always living in fear of conflict. Some people just can't handle conflict. अनबन नहीं अच्छा लगता है, सिर्फ शांति. लेकिन उनको पता नहीं कि ये जो शांति क्रिएट होती है सब टॉलरेट करने से, ये सब बहुत सुपरफिशियल रहती है. इट इज ऑलमोस्ट लाइक थिन आइस. एक ऐसा मोमेंट आता ही है जब बांध फूटता है और हमारे अंदर वो जो रिजेंटमेंट, दुख, बिकॉज हमने ही किया है, हमने ही दिया है, हमने ही टॉलरेट किया है, से जब बांध फूटता है, then things can become very ugly. But until then, those who cannot handle conflict, जो कभी बात करके बोल भी नहीं सकते कि ये जो तुम बदतमीजी से मुझसे बात करते हो, या जो तुम बार बार मुझसे ही मांगते हो और मुझे कुछ नहीं देते, they don't know how to say it, or they just don't like that disturbance or any kind of conflict in the relationship, conversation. They're so mild. No courage to face anger. कोई लोग डर जाते हैं अगर उनके सामने कोई बहुत अग्रेसिव पर्सनालिटी आती है, स्पेशली ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में एंड इवन फैमिलीज में होता है. कोई फैमिली मेंबर्स बहुत अग्रेसिव होते हैं. उनकी बात करने का तरीका या हर चीज का इज लाइक फुल ब्लोन टैंट्रम्स, चिल्लाना, चीखना या गाली गलौज करना या जो भी है. So they draw so much of our attention that we kind of suppress whatever we want to say. हमारे इमोशंस को दबा देते हैं क्योंकि हमको वो हैंडल नहीं होता. हम लोग गुस्सा सहन नहीं कर पाते, या हम अग्रेशन सहन नहीं कर पाते, या फिर गिल्ट. नहीं, ये तो मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, अगर मैं ये नहीं करूंगी तो फिर उसको दुख होगा, ये तो मेरा ही whatever, ये सब मेरे ही हिस्से का काम है, मुझे ही करना है, या लोग हमको जताते हैं या हमको खुद को गिल्ट. So guilt is a complete waste of emotion. I've heard and understood that finally in life. I've lived with a lot of guilt. No. If I say this, that person will get a. So ये guilt, it's a gift that keeps giving. So the people, all of us, I'm sure, can relate to it who are givers. And if we really think deeply, we'll realize that, yes, we all enjoy giving because it's such a nice feeling when we see delight, when we see people loving what we do for them. And when it comes out of love and affection, it's great. But when we keep on giving and then we become a little bitter that I'm the only one who's giving, somewhere I start feeling resentful, then that is not giving. That is really coming from some ego state or some unmet emotional need. And so it's important that we become very aware of that. By not setting boundaries, you repeat your responses of avoidance and further encourage and train people to get things done their way. So we are damaging the relationship and ourselves so much that by giving in and not setting boundaries, we are actually training them कि मुझसे ना हमेशा ये अपेक्षा करो कि मैं थक गई हूं, मैं थक गया हूं, मैं बहुत बिजी हूं, लेकिन क्योंकि जब भी तुमको मेरा अटेंशन चाहिए, मैं सब छोड़ के कितना भी दिक्कत हो या मुझे लाइक प्रोफेशनली सेटबैक हो जाए, बट मुझे सब छोड़ के मैं हमेशा अवेलेबल रहूं. या जब भी तुमने पैसे मांगे मेरे पास नहीं है या मैंने बहुत दे चुकी हूं, फिर भी बिकॉज मैंने वो इंप्रेशन क्रिएट किया, तुमको ट्रेन किया है कि मुझसे हमेशा मांगा करो, मुझसे हमेशा लिया करो और मुझे वापस इन रिटर्न कुछ नहीं दिया करो क्योंकि मुझे जरूरत नहीं है, मुझे सिर्फ देना है. So we are spoiling people by not setting boundaries, and we are avoiding conflict, and we are encouraging them. We are encouraging bad behavior. We are creating long-term disturbance and long-term conflicts unknowingly. So setting boundaries, what does it do? It benefits. Our self-esteem goes up. Conserving emotional energy. Whenever हमको लगता है कि बस आज नहीं सुनना है मुझे, you know, like some people just call us up when they are feeling frustrated, they want to crib about mother-in-laws or anybody, you know, a boss or whatever. We are their sounding boards. They will not even have the courtesy sometimes to ask, how are you? What are you going through? How are you feeling? They come straight to the point and they start bombarding you with their problems and issues. But we all have limited bandwidth. However much we might think that we are infinitely gifted and have tremendous empathy, yet we all have limited energy levels and we have every right to hold on to that. So when you're not in the mood, you are not feeling up to listening, you have every right to say, not today. I'm so sorry, but today I'm really not, you know, up to it. I just need some space. I'm busy with something. You can, it's all right to lie sometimes if it is for a good cause and if it is to hold on to your boundary. It gives you more independence because when you're sorted, you've conserved your energy, you have loved yourself in that way, saying no, you have learned to say no, I'm so sorry, I can't give you this. I know I've always given you, but at the moment, I can't, okay, or I don't want to. You can always say it politely. You will realize that the resentment and bitterness is not there. क्योंकि जब हम दुख में देते ही रहते, we become empty and still we keep giving. Inside, we are actually in great pain. And that great pain, somewhere that energy continues to be in the relationship, and that relationship loses the charm and the love and the bonding that actually used to exist earlier. So become very aware, are we really in the mood to or wanting to? It's not just about mood, it's even wanting to. You might be in the mood to give, but you don't want to give it. Because now you just want to stop. You don't want to give the time. You don't want to give the emotional support. You don't want to give the love. Because today you want the love. You want to know, am I equally important in the relationship? Kya main bhi important hu? So you have every right to stop giving and waiting or asking. Okay? So more independence and agency. Because then you'll be more lighthearted. You will not be heavy-hearted and carrying resentment. Main hi karti hu, main hi deti hu, right? How to set boundaries. It is very easy to set boundaries. There's no rocket science. Agar you're lacking in confidence, some people might not feel very comfortable suddenly to say no, especially jo givers hai, jinhone bahut tolerate kiya hai all their lives. But you can still always do that. And if you are not very confident, you can actually practice it. Visualize the person, sit alone, visualize It's a person who's always demanding from you and you're always giving, whatever it is, material things, emotional, financial, whatever. And practice saying, I cannot take this. I do not want this. I'm sorry, I can't do this. Okay. So learn to say, I cannot take that. It is so easy to say. And if it is not easy for you to say, then practice it. My plate is full. At the moment, I'm very busy. I'm so sorry, but abhi main nahi kar sakti. Abhi main waqt nahi de sakti. Abhi main tumhare sath nahi aa sakti. You can say it. Okay, so that guilt ka jo feeling hai, sometimes it comes out of guilt, or obligation or whatever. So first, resolve it in your mind, practice it, say it literally like this. I am so sorry, I'm very busy at the moment. I will not be able to give you time today, or I will not be able to come. It's so easy to say. Stop saying I had to. Like हम excuses देते हैं कि नहीं मुझे करना पड़ा. नहीं करना पड़ा. अगर आपको करने का मन नहीं था, you did not have the inclination and the desire, you have every right, but you do not have to give an excuse saying I had to. I don't know if anybody has read that famous book, Fish Philosophy, which has very 4 simple principles of living life. Out of it, one of it is make your choices, and we all make our choices. Today, whether you should even attend this workshop, I mean, no great shakes. It's not as if it's like very deep and spiritual, and which most of the things are being discussed on our group, and that's the main purpose. Philosophy, spirituality, psychology. You had a choice not to attend. So you made a choice saying, okay, chalo dekhte hain kya, and you're attending. It's a choice, to wear a certain dress today, dress up in a certain way, make a certain friend. So hum sab, we've been gifted with making choices. Unfortunately, we don't take that power and make the choice. Somebody made me do it. I had no choice. We all have choices. We have a choice not to make a choice also. So sometimes हमको कुछ नहीं करना है, बहुत दिल से बिल्कुल नहीं करना है, yet we make a choice, and we should be aware कि हम यहाँ पे ये choice क्यों कर रहे हैं करने का. मेरा मन नहीं है फिर भी. It may be out of love, and which is also fine, because the choice is yours. But remember that when you keep on doing it, even if it is out of pure divine love, and there will reach a point when you are the only one who's giving, at least majority of the times. I'm sure it's not as if we are only giving. We do get. But always be very conscious. It's not about being calculative. मैंने इतना किया तो उन्होंने इतना करना चाहिए. It's not in that. Comfortably कर रहे हो या कहीं पे दुख होके कर रहे हो. The moment you get that little feeling कि नहीं मुझे ये करने का मजा नहीं आ रहा, मुझे दुख हो रहा है, तो नहीं करो. Learn to say that आज नहीं, sorry, अब से नहीं. Okay, monitor your lives. This is very typical. We all do this. We are feeling very low. We are feeling depressed. We are feeling frustrated. We are angry. We are deeply hurt someday. लेकिन जब भी लोग पूछते हैं, because we've been told, be positive. So when people ask you, how are you? We always say, I'm fine. If you're not fine, be authentic. Be genuine and say, today I am not fine. आज मुझे कुछ ठीक नहीं लग रहा है, थोड़ा उदास सा लग रहा है. It's all right. When you will start being authentic, यानी when you become genuine, genuinely जो आज इस moment में आपको feel हो रहा है और कोई आपको पूछ रहा है, and आप genuinely जैसा feel कर रहे हो बोलना शुरू करोगे, that will be your baby steps towards beginning to becoming authentic. Because until you're authentic, you will not be able to draw your boundaries. When you're always faking it, always being cheerful, you're very unhappy, but you're nahi, because we've learned that we have to be very positive. So I'm always smiling, but I'm not feeling like smiling. I want to sit in a corner and cry. I want to feel all my hurt. I want to feel all the humiliation I've been tolerating for so many years. Please feel it with full force. It's your right. Your emotions are your right. No emotion that you're feeling, you should feel guilty about. So being authentic is very, very important. And I think we all have somewhere lost the, ability to be authentic. We're faking being positive. We're faking being optimistic, full of hope. Sometimes it's all right to feel hopeless, because whole of you is not hopeless. In that moment, a part of you is feeling hopeless, and it's all right to feel hopeless. Use no effectively. What stops you? Be conscious. Why is it difficult for me to say no? Sorry, no, I can't give you. So become conscious of that. Is it fear, guilt? Is it pressure? Is it that मुझसे बुजुर्ग है, मुझसे बड़े हैं, इसलिए मैं नहीं बोल सकती? What is the reason? या मैं डरती हूँ उनको? Need to please? Or is it that all the time I want to be popular? This popularity may sometimes we actually become silly, because people can see that we become too needy to become popular. But we are not aware of it. And we are just constantly wanting to please everybody. Saying no is not being mean and selfish. ये तो गांठ बांध लेने की बात है. That it is not being mean and selfish. And it is not that the person you love the most, okay, there can be moments that you don't feel like giving them love and affection, because you're not having it inside you. You've not received it from others. You're feeling empty, and it's all right. So you don't have to feel guilty. And just because in that moment you're not going to give doesn't mean that you have stopped loving them. So that understanding is a very important. Otherwise, again, we go back into having the guilt trip. So you have to have the power to say, no, I will not. I disagree. And it's perfectly all right. When we say I disagree, I don't want to be aggressive. I can say it very nicely. I can say it so gently. But mean it. And like I said, be authentic, be genuine. The more genuine and authentic we are, more lighthearted we will be. Why? Because we are not carrying the burden that I'm actually faking it. Because when we are faking it, that starts weighing heavily in my mind. Actually, I didn't want to say this. Actually, I didn't feel like doing it, but I'm doing it. So I'm causing resentment. So please be authentic and genuine. Feel okay to say, I disagree. I choose not to do this. Stop that. It hurts when somebody keeps ridiculing. Like, I'm sorry, this I've seen in a lot of people. Like, I've seen that some people love to make others jealous. They think it's such a playful, sweet, teasing way. I love that woman. I like that man. He looks so dashing and handsome. Oh, or even parents say, that child, oh, that child is so talented. It's like taunting. And suppose you don't like it because it is hurting you. We're all sensitive human beings. We have every right to say, please stop doing that and saying this because it hurts. It's so simple to say it, but it is so difficult for us to say it to people closest to us. But if we start saying it, they might be shocked and surprised because you may never have said it, because you've never drawn your boundaries. But now they will start realizing what is acceptable to you and not acceptable. And your relationship becomes more filled with respect. I dislike it when you say or do that. Please don't hesitate to say that. So how to set boundaries? Always say yes does not mean, always saying yes does not mean you're a good person or a good colleague or a good friend. And look at conflicts as new information. Whenever you have a disagreement or a conflict, don't look at it and get overwhelmed thinking, oh my God, now I might lose this friendship, or now this person will get upset with me. Look at it as saying, okay, what is the point we disagree on? This is this person's thought process and this is mine. We can always be very dignified and respectful in conflict. Retain your power. This is holding your power, saying, I'm sorry, I disagree. I don't like this. Stop doing this to me. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. And always, this is very, very, very important point. This is my favorite, actually, out of all the things that is written in this presentation. Always choose discomfort over resentment. Say it the first time. Unless it's something very minor, you might let it go. Just a moment. Sorry. So, retain your power, choose discomfort. So say what you feel as against not say it and carry resentment, because that resentment keeps causing bitterness. You start resenting the person. You carry a little bit of anger and hatred in the person. You start operating from that mindset. Then you start taunting, being sarcastic, and that leads to a breakdown in the relationship. So instead, when you use a more healthy way of communicating, however uncomfortable it is, but you start being authentic and saying, I'm sorry, I don't like the way you treat me. I'm sorry, I don't like you teasing me. I'm sorry, I don't like the way you constantly, compare me with others. I'm sorry, I don't like it that you're always asking me, but you do not give me your time. When you start saying that, you will slowly but surely have a more functional, a more loving, a relationships which are based on the foundation of respect and love, as against pretense and superficiality. And always follow your gut, being very self-aware. How am I feeling in the moment? We're sometimes operating so superficially that we forget who we are, what is upsetting, what is hurting us. So be very, very conscious of that. If we need, sometimes take time and go away, take physical space, stop communicating with the person if you're feeling, and gather your bearings and then resolve these emotions. Why am I operating? Why am I not able to say no? And draw your boundaries, express it to people that this is what is acceptable, this is not acceptable, and communicate that. So if need be, move away, remain silent, maintain distance. That doesn't mean sulk. It doesn't mean stonewalling. It means in a healthy way, move away. Just be quiet for a while and then go back and resolve that, communicate, express how you felt. Setting boundaries means taking responsibility of our choices and its consequences, and reminding yourself that making a choice is critical for your well-being and also for the well-being of that relationship. So, and it is not easy, of course, but it is very doable. And I really, really request all of you all that look at those relationships in your lives where you've not been able to draw boundaries. It could be with in-laws, it could be with somebody older, but begin to be authentic and express, saying, I do not like this. I want this. I will not accept this. And that will make you feel more kind of, connected with the person. To protect your energy, it's okay to cancel a commitment. It's okay to not answer a call. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to want to be alone. It's okay to take a day off. It's okay to do nothing. And it's okay to speak up. It's okay to let go. Because when you do this, you have respected yourself. You start operating from a higher self-worth. Your life condition rises as a consequence of drawing boundaries. And I have actually reflected on this. I used to always think that no boundaries is what really love is about. And I have learned and I have actually experienced that when I begun to express what is not acceptable and what is acceptable to me, I've had such deep, stronger, deeper conversations with people, and my bond with those people has become more intimate and strong. So this is really something that all of us should do. So and of course there are affirmations. All of us know what affirmations are. I'm sorry, I know it's pretty late. We've overshot the time. We'll just quickly go through some affirmations that we can have for drawing boundaries. Simple, short, powerful expressions, right? These are what affirmations are. So how to use affirmations? Say them, think them, write them, watch them, and hear them. So you know what they are: affirm with faith, affirm with positive feelings, and with attentiveness. Now, for boundaries, what are the affirmations we can have? And firstly, for those who are not able to set boundaries, never set boundaries, been very tolerant, bearing with all the pain, all the nonsense, only at the receiving end, always being the givers, they can at least start with saying, I'm willing to set boundaries because I care for myself. Actually, you should replace it with saying, I love myself. I release the fear, guilt, and pressure of setting boundaries. I release the fear because most of us are not able to set boundaries coming because it all comes from fear. Next, my boundaries protect me and keep me safe. And we all want to be protected and kept safe. I'm able to say no when I mean no. And I accept disagreements and conflicts as part of relationship. When I accept it and saying it's a part of a relationship, I won't get overwhelmed. I will not be apologetic. I will not feel guilty. So these are really very powerful affirmations, and it'll be nice. I will share them with you all on the WhatsApp group. And I respect my space and boundaries. So that is it. So one more time, choose discomfort over resentment, and please learn to draw boundaries, because you will feel lighter, you will feel more resolved, you will feel more self-worth and self-respect, and you will notice that people will also start respecting you. Okay, so these are, of course, just examples of the different boundaries. I don't think that we need to talk about this. So this is the end of the session. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, or even just share, your experiences or how you have overcome boundaries, what you've done, or what you have learned over life and learn to, how set boundaries. So it'll be really nice to hear from the others.
That's true. Wonderful session, Sangita ji. मैंने ये नोटिस किया है कि आज नहीं तो कल हमें बोलना ही पड़ेगा. इतनी एज में ये तो समझ में आ गया, एक ना एक दिन तो बोलना ही है, तो आज ही बोल दो. बोलने का तरीका आपने अच्छा बताया कि स्टार्ट विद ओके, आई एम सॉरी टू से बट बिजी टुडे और व्हाट. अच्छा, नाइस सेशन.
A wonderful session, Sangita. I think Rahul has a question. Rahul, please go ahead.
हेलो.
हाँ जी.
अभी मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ जी, आ रही है.
संगीता जी, मेरे को बस इतना पूछना था कि that to be authentic, basically, I mean, lot to do with societal expectation also. I mean, these days we see a lot of people like on Facebook and all, they all project a very happy frame of mind and happy state. So they're mostly faking it. I mean, nobody displays their sad state of mind, so one tends to feel that, okay, everyone's in a perfect happy
Rahul, will
state.
you speak up a bit? I'm so sorry, I'm not able to hear you. A little louder.
Sorry.
Are you asking a question or
Yeah,
sharing something?
No. So my thing was that what were the societal expectations? I mean, doesn't society also I mean, play a great role? Because I mean, and specifically what's happening these days, where everyone's projecting a very happy frame of mind, on Facebook, and I mean, sharing just the good memories and good happy moments. Probably they're faking it. I mean that's like one is only exposed to the faking kind of thing.
So, like I said, life is a choice, right? So we may want to fake it. It's also a choice. It's perfectly all right. I mean, we can't judge, right? If I want to show a very happy picture and put all happy holidays and, pictures of mine on Facebook, because somewhere it gives me some kind of satisfaction. I'm not hurting anybody, correct?
Okay.
But
that would
if
be also
somebody is
projecting
ridiculing me on
projecting
Facebook,
a lack,
sorry?
projecting I mean, you are projecting something happy because probably you're not that happy also
Not
somewhere, no?
necessarily. Okay, well, we can't be that cynical in life, because you could
Okay.
actually be happy and really be sharing happy pictures and would have had those happy moments, and you want the world and people on your friends list to know that you had a good time. It could be an event or a holiday or whatever. So it's not about social media. So let's leave social media, because today now social media has completely overtaken, and even the most modest people, and all of us who were otherwise very shy, we've all become a little like pompous and vain, and we like to share photographs and information, and which is all right. But boundaries is more about interpersonal relationships within families, within friendships, within colleagues, within society. So being aware that, am I operating out of guilt? Am I doing whatever I'm doing? Whether I'm counseling, I'm listening to somebody, or I'm accompanying somebody because the person needs, suppose even if it's to go to a doctor. We do it out of love and affection. Somebody seems lonely, we want to go and spend time with them and comfort them, or be there for them so that they don't feel lonely, or it could be anything, or offer money if somebody's depressed. I'm talking about being self-aware that, am I doing it from a healthy state of mind? Am I doing it lovingly? Or I'm constantly doing and eventually becoming resentful. It is causing harm to me psychologically, emotionally, or financially, or the person's occupying too much of my space or time. So being aware and expressing it instantly so that people do not take you for granted, and you express your expectation or what will not be acceptable to you in a healthy manner.
Right.
Immediately, instead of feeling very conscious and saying, no, but I might lose this friendship. That is what this whole boundaries things is about. It's not about, everybody has, like I said, it's a choice. You want to show a happy picture, though you're feeling extreme. And maybe we are uploading happy pictures just the day we are feeling very depressed. Like when you're feeling like a loser and you feel everybody seems to be having fantastic lives and having, healthy relationships, more friends, more marriages happening. And here I am, single, lonely, sitting, feeling like a loser. That day I might want to upload more happy pictures of the past and let the world know, hey, I'm also having a nice time. Why not? If it makes me feel good, there's nothing wrong about it. That is not being unauthentic.
Right.
That is making a choice. Saying, today now I want to cheer myself up by letting the world know I also have a good life. Okay, I also have enough people in my life. Okay, I'm not so lonely. Yeah. It's a choice. But this is more about the dynamics of a relationship. Boundaries is about the dynamics in terms of, how do I conduct myself? I mean, what am I being in a relationship? Am I being unhealthy, dysfunctional, just giving, just tolerating nonsense, humiliation, taunts, and I'm not liking it, but tolerating it. I'm not speaking up, saying, I'm so sorry. But of course, what I expect from others, obviously I should be doing. If I expect respect, am I being respectful in my communication? If I'm expecting to be heard, am I a good listener? If I'm expecting to be, given love and affection, am I also reciprocating? Whatever it is, So this boundaries is more about that. It's not about social media pe hum log sab fake karte honge. It's all right.
And no, like another beautiful thing that you said was that
A little
people
louder,
tend to-
Rahul.
yeah, people
Sorry?
tend to choose discomfort
Discomfort over
over
resentment.
resentment. But what would, I mean, I would like to know why does that happen?
See, so discomfort happens because I can't speak up. I'm lacking in confidence, or I'm operating out of fear, or out of respect, or out of guilt. So there is discomfort. Okay. Somebody is constantly teasing me. Okay. And saying, oh, you're always like, you're so loud, or, oh, you're so pompous, or you brag too much, or, oh, you only talk about yourself, or whatever, Once I'm told, I'm teased. It's cute, it's sweet. Friends, we all like to tease each other. We take liberties in close friendships, right? We're very open. Our boundaries are a little lower in close relationships. But the moment that behavior or that those words start hurting me, I need to speak up. Once, like I said, if my partner, my romantic partner, repeatedly tells me how he or she finds another person so attractive and sexy, okay, if it is offensive to me, some people can handle it. Some people will laugh at, he's like this only, or she's like this only, flirty. But if I'm sensitive and it upsets me, I need to let the person know, I'm so sorry, but I don't appreciate it because I never do it to you. I do not like it done to me. So please don't do it again. So simply said, that's drawing your boundary.
Okay, so it's
But if
basically
I kept
lack
on
of
tolerating because I have to look cool, And my partner keeps on flirting and keeps on appreciating and finding and making comments about other, people, saying, oh, so attractive, and look at the way, and so stylish. And it is hurting me, and I do not speak up. I become resentful and bitter. It is hurting me, but I'm not expressing, not letting the person know that this is not acceptable, and I will not tolerate it.
And inability
And I
to
become resentful, but I'm uncomfortable because I don't want to, because I feel my partner will think I'm so old-fashioned. Because one has to be cool means being very cool. Everything is okay, like two-timing, double, flirting, openly flirting, making my partner feel uncomfortable, or instigating sometimes just deliberately to, let my partner know that, hey, I'm so popular, or I'm liked by the opposite sex so much. So whatever is the intent of that other person, it is causing me pain, but I'm uncomfortable expressing it to the person.
Okay,
But I
and
do it to myself. My self-love, my self-worth says, I don't have to tolerate it. But when I tolerate it, I become resentful. And that is what you need to avoid. Always choose discomfort. So become uncomfortable and say it. At the risk of discomfort, and that person feeling, oh my God, what happened to this person? All this while to never spoke up. And now what happened? So see, I never spoke up earlier, but I need to tell you that I do not like it at all. It hurts me. It makes me feel that you do not find me attractive and you look down upon me. I find it condescending. When you say it, you will not remain bitter because you've expressed what your desire is and what you do not like. So resentment doesn't breed.
Sangita ji,
Makes sense?
I mean, ultimately it all comes down to your self-love.
Correct.
Okay.
Self-love is speaking up for yourself, because you are speaking up for the whole world as an activist, as a boss, as a friend, as a son, as a daughter, or whatever roles we play in life. We are speaking up. We can't. अत्याचार हमको अच्छा नहीं लगता. हम government के बारे में, हम politicians के बारे में, हम film stars के, हम सबको criticize करते. We have an opinion. But when somebody is treating us badly, taking us for granted, we do not think we need to speak up. And that is where self-love comes in. Who will speak for this person in whose body I'm living? This person who has been with me from birth and will be with me till death, every moment of my life. Even nobody lives with us
Ourselves.
Right.
as much as we live with ourselves.
That's true.
So if we do not speak for ourselves, who will? And when we start speaking up for ourselves, maybe others will speak up for us as well, because they'll say, oh, this person has an opinion. This person has self-worth. This person has the guts to speak and express how he or she feels. Of course, we need to do it with respect.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Wonderful, Sangita. It was a lovely session.
So
I'd like to share something about my mother, who's 89. And what Sangita just said about you can draw boundaries at any age. I want to share recently, I think sometime back, as you know, घरों में pickle बनाते हैं, है ना? So my mom is very good at making pickles. और मेरी auntie जी जो है, she is 75. My mother is 88, 89, okay? So my auntie ji who's 75 calls up my mother and says, you're anyway going to be making pickles, so make it for me. So my mother said to her that, खट्टे आम में मेरा हाथ, मतलब it will get, अच्छा नहीं है मेरे लिए, because it's difficult for me and pickle will be like, so she said, whatever pickle I make, I'll send you a bottle. So my auntie said, no, I want to make 5 kilos. 5 kilo pickle आप मेरे लिए बना दीजिए, because the kids like it a lot. So मेरी मम्मी ने मुझे फोन किया कि just see, like they're expecting me to make 5 kilo pickle, वैसे भी मैं बनाने वाली हूँ. I said, मम्मा आप decide करिए आपको क्या करना है, ठीक है? So she said, I can't obviously make 5 kilo pickle. I said, now you. She said, no, I feel bad also. But I cannot make. I said, now you decide what you want to do. You have to find your way out and you have to assert yourself because you cannot make. So she said, okay. So she must have thought about it in the night. Next day she tells me, मैंने उनको बोल दिया कि पहले तो आप जाइए आम लेकर आइए, ठीक है, और मेरी जो मेड है वो बनाने वाली है, बिकॉज मैं तो नहीं बनाऊंगी, अपना पिकल भी मैं खुद नहीं बनाने वाली, मेरी मेड बनाने वाली है. आई विल बी स्पीकिंग टू द मेड, ऐसे करो, सुपरवाइजिंग.
Yeah.
So she said, get the 5 kilo आम, cut by your cook. हाँ, काट फूट के आपको आम ले आइए, and the salt and the pickle, the mirchi and everything ले आइए, और मेरी मेड बनाने वाली, because as you know आम का पिकल के लिए आपको धूप में रखना है, फिर उसको you know you to move it, the काफी all that kind of procedure is there which the maid is going to do. So she said the maid will do it and you have to pay the maid. So my aunt said, yeah, I'm willing to pay the maid. So I said, see mama, what a wonderful solution you do. तुम्हें उनको ना भी नहीं बोलना पड़ा. जैसे संगीता ने कहा ना कि कैसे हम बोले, you know, we don't want to spoil the kind of relationship, obviously. At the same time, we want to be assertive. So there is a way out for everything. ऐसा कभी हो नहीं सकता कि there is no way out. हम सोचते नहीं हैं the way out. That's our problem, actually, you know. So I just wanted to share कि किसी भी उम्र में आप बाउंड्री ड्रॉ कर सकते हैं without offending anybody also. There is a way out to draw your boundary, okay? Another thing I want to share is, मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ कि how do you break these habits? Like संगीता ने जो भी beautiful बोला है आज, we are not able to do many things because we are habit forming creatures. हम ना नहीं बोल पाते, हमें लगता है कि नहीं, you know, उनको बुरा लग जाएगा, and slowly we get into this very habitual way of responding or reacting, right? So how do you break this habit? So I always tell people that every week do 2 things that you don't like. हर हफ्ते 2 चीज करिए जो आपको पसंद नहीं है, और don't do 2 things that you like. हर हफ्ते या हर महीने जो भी है, आप कोई भी 2 चीज करिए जो आपको पसंद नहीं है. So you break that, you know, that I'm like that only, मैं ऐसी ही हूँ, मैं ऐसा तो कभी सोच ही नहीं पाती हूँ. तो करिए, please do it, right? And don't do 2 things that you like. जो 2 चीजें आपको पसंद है वो मत करिए. So what happens is you start breaking this habit जो है ना कि मैं ऐसा नहीं बोल सकती, मैं तो ऐसी ही हूँ, मैं तो ऐसा कर नहीं सकती, मुझे तो बड़ी मुश्किल होती, मैंने तो कभी ऐसा बोला ही नहीं है. अरे भाई ऐसे करिए, इस महीने बोलिए. So this way what happens is you break this cycle in which you are caught. True. And slowly it becomes very easy for you to set your boundaries because you can do things that you don't do. True. So this way, you know, it's very, ये आपको practice करना है. I think Sangita will agree कि इस चीज को हमें practice करना पड़ेगा. Practice नहीं करेंगे तो बहुत मुश्किल है. You know, अचानक कोई चीज करना बहुत मुश्किल है. Like as a counselor and as an HR person, we tell people, right? कि ये करो, we tend to give them a tips. But they can't do, वो नहीं कर पाते. Because अचानक they cannot change themselves, ना? True. तो इस तरह से आप धीरे धीरे करके आप सोचिए, okay, these are the things that I don't do. Okay, on a Monday, I'm going to do this. तो सोच लीजिए कि
that's a good idea.
हाँ, सोमवार को मैं करूंगी. So this way, slowly.
It's also changing your brain pattern, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because then you start, and you also loosen up as a person.
Absolutely, because
you loosen up, you become
actually,
more light-hearted. Yeah.
Correct, because you actually start looking at yourself and say, hey man, I did this on a Monday. मैंने किया, you know, so I can do it.
Achievement. Yeah.
Correct. So इस तरह से like a game.
Like a game.
हाँ, because बच्चों के साथ में काम करती हूँ, so always give them this very funny things to do. तो
True.
उनको बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, oh yes auntie, oh ma'am, I could do it, that kind of thing.
Correct.
Like I think 2 weeks back, there was this little child in my 4th grade, and he said that he was very quiet and all that, in the class, not talking to other children. So he came to me, a teacher brought him to me, and then I said, "Beta, why you can't talk? What is the problem? आप तो सब दोस्त बनना चाहते हैं, आप क्यों नहीं बनना चाहते हो?" He said, "नहीं, मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता है, वो लोग बहुत जोर जोर से बातें करते हैं, और मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता इतनी लाउड बातें जब करते, मुझे लगता है वो स्कोल्ड कर रहे हैं मुझे." तो मैंने ऐसे करो बेटा, मंडे को ना, इन दैट पीरियड ऑफ म्यूजिक, आप जोर जोर से गाना गाओ। कि नहीं, मैं तो जोर से नहीं गाता, मैं तो बहुत धीरे गाता हूँ। मैंने कहा नहीं, म्यूजिक क्लास में आपको जोर से गाना गाना है। सो आई टोल्ड द म्यूजिक टीचर दैट सर, जब वो म्यूजिक क्लास में आएगा तो आप ऐसे करिए, स्टार्ट करने के लिए ही हैज टू स्टार्ट लाउडली। So he said, "Okay, ma'am, we'll do that." And now, 2 weeks later, he came with his friends laughing and all, मैंने कहा, अरे वाह, तुम तो जोर जोर से हंस रहे हो। हाँ, मुझे अच्छा लग रहा है। Simple. So he could not
It's a
do it.
breakthrough.
Yeah, it's a breakthrough.
It's like a breakthrough.
He cannot do it, but we tell him that it's okay to do it. And you can do it in this period. तो slowly वो म्यूजिक पीरियड में 2 हफ्ते 4 बार गया होगा म्यूजिक में, वो करने लगा, तो he enjoyed it. So his friends said, "अरे वाह, तू तो बहुत अच्छा गाता है, इतना जोर से गाना गाता है." So he said, "अच्छा, very good. जब जोर से गाना गाता हूँ तो लोग मुझे अप्रिशिएट करते हैं." So it worked in his favor. So you have to make it playful. आपको कोई भी चीज तोड़ने के लिए, हैबिट तोड़ने के लिए, make it playful. Then it's very easy for children and for adults to do it,
Yeah, but quite a few adults are very intense people, so they find it very difficult to be playful, and especially when they overcome with a lot of emotions. So sometimes that time it helps them to write and express.
इतना भी अच्छी बात है। अकॉर्डिंग टू मी, राहुल ने जो पूछा अबाउट सोशल मीडिया, मैं तो कहती हूँ इंस्टाग्राम का अकाउंट खोलिए and something silly post. You'll break that myth that you have to be serious. मैं तो यही करती हूँ. I use my Instagram account to become silly. So it's fun, right? That's how you free yourself.
Yeah, but it's not silly. It's always very charming and sweet, actually. So it's never silly. I look forward to those.
So what I'm saying
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
मैम के रिएक्ट बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होते हैं।
तो वही मैं कहती हूँ ना कि हमें अपने बच्चे को खोना नहीं है। I mean, what is it? People will laugh at you or say, "Oh, funny man." It's okay, fine, no problem. You have to be open to all kinds of comments.
I think, ma'am, that also comes from the fact that we accept others, na? We really are challenged in accepting ourselves.
Absolutely.
Means that I'm like this. No, we are judging ourselves. No, I have to be very prim and proper. I have to be very poised. I have to be the refined one. Let people around me, however uncouth and silly, but I have to always be well behaved. So that's why we don't loosen up, because we don't say that nobody's perfect and this is who I am. However I am, with all my shortcomings and whatever, I'm beautiful, I'm special, I'm unique, like everybody else.
The key is, Sangita, who cares, right? The key is,
who cares, really?
What are you caring so much about?
We are so self-conscious. Like when you go for a wedding, I always tell people, I wear the same saree for so many weddings, but everybody is bothered about how they look. So why take the trouble and ensuring, oh, last time I wore this and this time I should wear something. If you feel like it's okay, but if you don't feel like, you repeat it. Nobody is going to check, अरे उसके शादी में ये पहना.
अरे भाई, even if they check, who cares, right? मैं तो ये कहती हूँ, सुबह जब मैं Instagram खोलती हूँ and I see all those reels which make me laugh, I mean, why can't I make others laugh the same way? जब मैं किसी reel के ऊपर मैं हंस सकती हूँ, and I can have a great morning by watching all those wonderful silly stuff that people talk about, roasting others, I can also roast somebody, who cares. So I think वो एक बच्चे वाला attitude ना होना बहुत जरूरी है जिंदगी में. That makes you self love yourself.
In
जब
your
हम
TA, you taught us that.
हाँ, जब हम बच्चे
Child,
थे,
yeah.
जब हम बच्चे
Nurture
थे
the
तो
child.
हम we didn't bother, right? Okay.
We were like spontaneous. We
Correct.
lose spontaneity completely. As we grow, we become so self-conscious.
Yeah. So like I say, give permission to yourself to do what you want to do. Urvi, beta, you have raised your hand. Share करो. बच्चे आपको अनम्यूट करिए. अनम्यूट करो बेटा.
I don't think she heard you.
No, but we can't hear her. So, हाँ, उर्वी ने किया है अनम्यूट. किया बेटा.
Maybe her
Ah.
thing is not connected.
Urvi is speaking, but better we can't hear you. Urvi, हम सुन
volume
नहीं
ना-
पा रहे.
She'll need to increase the volume possibly. I don't know.
I think she's going to a place where she can. I don't know. बच्चा सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है. No. Okay, you can write it. Type कर लीजिए. Don't go without expressing. So type it. Let us see what she's written. लिख लो. Yeah, Rahul, I'll definitely take something for my throat. It's better, but I have to get back to action before I come to Delhi. लिखो. लिखा उर्वी ने कुछ. Urvi, gosh, I'm getting online from other platform. अच्छा ठीक है. I don't know what she's trying to say. I think she's moved out. She has to go to another platform. चलो ठीक है, all right. Okay, then I think we've had a super session today. And thank you, Sangita, so much. It was very enlightening, a very important topic, I think. This was a very, very crucial topic.
Truptiji, Khushbu has also raised a hand.
Okay, Khushbu. Khushbu beta, bolo. Khushbu का हाथ ऊपर.
Namaste, namaste ma. Thank you संगीता जी for the wonderful session. मुझे एक चीज पूछना था कि हमने सेशन तो बहुत अच्छा रहा, सुना समझा. मुझे एक चीज हमेशा लगती है कि हम अफर्मेशन कैसे काम करते हैं. हम अंदर से किसी बात को लेके हर्ट है और हम ऊपर से अगर उस चीज के लिए अफर्मेशन दे रहे हैं पर वो अंदर से हर्ट तो गया नहीं है, तो अफर्मेशन कैसे काम करता है उस स्थिति में.
So आप affirmation को कैसे state करते हो? You know the rules, right? कि affirmation ऐसे होना चाहिए जैसे वो बात हो रही है. आप चाहते हैं ऐसे नहीं हो रही. मैं खुश हूं. So आप immediately मैं खुश हूं बोल के खुश होने वाले नहीं हो immediately. Okay? But affirmation is something that you, all of you all who are psychology students, I'm sure you know that 85 to 90% of your mind is your subconscious mind. Correct? So you are putting the seed. An affirmation is like planting the seed. अभी जब भी हम कोई भी बीज डालते हैं मिट्टी में, immediately पौधा उगता है क्या?
नहीं, पर जब हम जहाँ डालते हैं वहां हम ये जरूर ध्यान रखते हैं कि वो जमीन उपजाऊ हो, वहां पे कोई ऐसी चीज ना हो जहाँ वो फूट ही ना सके.
So you have to believe that what I'm saying, I'm going to manifest. I am successful. Okay, today you might be struggling, right? But with some faith, not some, but a lot of amount of faith and belief that it is, I'm going to manifest and it's going to happen. You say it with that kind of conviction. Because doubt में बोलोगे तो आप already बीज को weak कर दे रहे हो, यानी वो उपजाऊ नहीं रहेगी वो जमीन. वो जो माइंड है वो ऑलरेडी डाउट से भरा होगा कि अरे मैं बोल के फायदा क्या है, नहीं लेकिन सिर्फ बोलना है, ये तो खाली वर्ड्स हैं. So you are not really affirming. like you said, बीज के लिए उपजाऊ जमीन होनी चाहिए, वैसे ही receptive and very open mind होना चाहिए. A mind full of hope, a mind full of conviction. इसलिए what you're saying, like वो हम लोगों ने boundaries में क्या कहा, and at least you will say today it's not possible. Say I'm not very confident person, लेकिन मुझे confident होना है. Your first step will be, I am ready to feel confident. Okay? At least make your जमीन को उपजाऊ करनी पड़ती है ना अपने आप से. आप तो ऐसे नहीं कि सारी जमीन जिंदगी में सॉरी दुनिया में उपजाऊ है, नहीं, राइट? उसको हमको कहीं पे फर्टिलाइजर डालना पड़ता है, उसको थोड़ा सा कुरेदना पड़ता है, उसको रेडी करना पड़ता है. Likewise, your mind also has to be made ready. So sometimes your affirmations have to start with saying, like suppose you're living, like I said, confidence. I'm ready to feel confident. I'm ready to let go of my fear. I'm ready. I can't say I'm fearless. My affirmation cannot start with I'm fearless, I'm fearless, I'm fearless. Because you're not fearless. You're still feeling a lot of fear. So you will start with I'm ready to let go of my fear. I'm ready.
Okay.
And when the more you say it, your subconscious mind starts working and starts then actually creating and manifesting that feeling of fearlessness. Making sense?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so it's late. So may I still?
Yes, of course, you may, please.
All right. Okay, so there is a conflict and I want to
Sure.
share. Okay.
Sure.
Now, when we do this past life work, we say that, sometimes in a interpersonal relationship, when a person is kind of constantly paining a person, and there is an understanding that probably in this life, a person is playing perpetrator to a person who's feeling victimized, probably because there is a relationship which started in the past. Now, in this kind of a situation, and there is a pattern, there is a definite pattern, okay, and a person is being abused. Now, because the person is being abused, so there is a crossing of boundaries happening already. Now, when there is an understanding that there was something that I did it in the past, so now it is happening to me. So then also I have to draw the boundary. A person has to draw the boundary.
Yes.
Is my question to Ma also that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do we go about that? Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. That's a very good, interesting question. Wow. Very interesting. Ma'am, please, I think you should address it. Yeah.
So yes, Urvi, absolutely. Because in your current lifetime, you're carrying that particular prarabdha, okay, some unfinished incompleteness, because of which this particular relationship has come back into your life in a toxic manner, correct? Now, in your current lifetime, you're going to make a choice. Okay, so exactly what she said, Sangita said, you will make an informed choice, whether you want to continue or you want to forgive and move away. See, it's like this, a very example that even Dr. Weiss says, that suppose John met Sarah and Sarah met John. So John hurt Sarah hurts John. That's the cycle, correct? And this can continue forever. Right? Now there is two choices. One, Sarah realizes, maybe she attends a workshop or she listens to somebody or reads a book, and she realizes, hey man, I don't want to continue this pattern. So Sarah steps away. John cannot understand why and what happened, because Sarah decides. Because John and Sarah have got so used to this pattern of hurting and being hurt that when one partner steps away, the second partner is left high and dry, not able to understand what exactly went wrong, because she was comfortable with the abuse. So why suddenly has she stepped away from it? So in your current lifetime, you can make an informed choice and step away, breaking the pattern, stepping out of the karmic cycle, which has continued over lifetimes. That choice can be made by you, one. Second, when you do a past life session and you get some realization, okay, suppose, like an example I can give you, there was a woman who came to see me in Delhi a couple of years ago, I think. She was wanting to take a divorce from her husband. And I asked her, like, what's the reason? She said, no, I'm not comfortable with him, etc., etc. And the husband had moved to London and he sent her tickets. Settle ho gaya, right? And the wife wanted some answers as to why she doesn't want to, she wants to divorce. But when she came for the session and she realized that she was a persecutor in a previous lifetime to her husband, okay, she said, no, I think I can make amends. She made that choice to stay in the marriage because she felt that she was not looking at the aspect of her husband that actually was positive. So she made that choice to continue in the marriage. So there is a choice. You can step away, or with awareness and understanding, you can still continue in a kind of relationship.
Even though it is toxic? For example,
like what happens is, Urvi, when you see a lifetime as a persecutor, the toxicity in that relationship changes. The dynamics changes. Somehow the relationship becomes less toxic because आपने एक चीज को change किया है.
My question is because of this only. So I have a case where there is like the issue between husband and wife, and husband is very abusive, physical and verbal. And then the wife undergoes past life regression, and then she realized that, why it's happening to her, because in one lifetime, she has been a persecutor. And then she does her work. She really feels that, sorry, she feels for a prayashchit, she really felt, right? And then she realizes that she accepted to become a victim because somewhere she was feeling guilty about that thing.
Right.
So she does her work by doing this past life thing. And then after that, and then of course there was a lot of issue and she was in the mind of divorce and stuff. And then she said that, no, I don't want to because whatever.
Okay.
But still husband continues to abuse.
Yeah.
Now how do we...
So the key is, if she has made a choice of staying in that relationship with that husband's abuse, how is she dealing with it?
She is feeling hurt whenever it's done, because she feels that I have done my work. I have done whatever that I had to do. And she's taking care of him. She's really a good wife. But then the husband has anger issues, and then he says that it's my issue, and I have to be verbal about it, otherwise I will harm myself physically. So you have to just tolerate it.
So my dear, exactly what Sangita said. Is she able to draw a boundary when her husband is abusive verbally or whatever? Can she draw a boundary and say, I'm sorry, but this I will not be able to tolerate, and if this continues, if you continue to do this, then I'm sorry, but I will have to step away.
Correct.
This is how it can be dealt.
Yes, absolutely. She can see. The key is suffering की भी एक सीमा होती है. Suffering की भी एक limit होती है ना? There are some people who can suffer all their lives and they move towards kind of bhakti yoga. Okay, there are some people who possibly want to kind of suffer only this much. Okay, 80% तक उनकी limit है suffer करने की. वो 20% नहीं कर पाते, 100% तक नहीं जा पाते. It's fine. They can finish with that 80% in their current lifetime and move away from the relationship and possibly leave that 20%. Okay, and maybe they can do some kind of prashchit somewhere else for that 20%.
वो possible है?
Yes, sometimes I feel कि वो 20% का जो प्रायश्चित बाकी है, अगर आपको लगता है, जरूरी नहीं कि बाकी है, पर अगर आपको ये लगता है कि नहीं, मैंने you know, I could have continued. Suppose if that person says like that, तो वो 20% प्रायश्चित के लिए, जैसे मैं कहती हूँ कि if you have a problem with, say, your parents, you're not able to deal with them, you can always go to a old age home and can volunteer. So आप वो प्रायश्चित वहां complete करो. God has given us many ways in which आप वो कर सकते हो. जरूरी नहीं कि आपको उसी व्यक्ति के साथ करना है. Basically, आपको उसकी help करनी है, right? So you can help somebody else, like maybe 10 people who are going through the same problem as your husband is going through. You know, so it's not कि आपको वहां रह के suffer करना है. Yeah, if you think you have the bandwidth to suffer, so be it. It's your choice again.
Yeah,
But
then it won't be a suffering. But if you are feeling suffering, then you should raise your voice.
Yes.
Yeah, and letting go is also about drawing a boundary.
Absolutely.
Like she said, even if the person had in the previous lifetime inflicted pain only on this person, okay, and has now come back in this life and now become the victim, chose to become the victim. Like she said, there is a limit to everything. As far as the feeling of prayashchit is very acutely, there in the person, that itself is a big step, right? So that doesn't mean itna suffer karna hai ki you have to spend a whole lifetime. When the realization has come, compassion is there for the person's done enough, there has to be some point in time, of course, doesn't have to be, again, I mean to say it's a personal choice, but it is perfectly all right to say, I have now, my retribution is over, I have done, I've, all that karma that I had created towards being mean to this person in the previous lifetime, now I'm done.
Actually,
and I'm going to walk away.
You can
otherwise you're spoiling the person, right?
No, you can even ask the person to go to a temple or wherever, whatever she believes in. She can just go to the temple and pray and say, I'm sorry, God, I can only do this much and not more. Now I leave this person to be healed by you. I may not be the right person to do this now any further. So please, you need to help him. I can only do this much. So you can own up to the fact that you are unable to do it.
Got it.
That's completely fine. It's absolutely all right, because ऐसा न हो कि ये व्यक्ति जब when she's at the point of her deathbed carries this further.
Yeah.
है ना, हमारा purpose क्या है life का, कि जो भी हम whatever lesson we have come to learn or whatever purpose is there, we complete it before we pass away.
Yes.
Right? तो अगर हम ये इकट्ठा ही करते रहेंगे, grief है या anger है या resentment है, तो that is what we will carry forward. तो ये बहुत careful रहना है हमें. So I tell people, okay, you've done enough, ma'am, I can't do more. It's fine. You don't have to break. So go to the temple, bow down to the Lord and say, I leave the rest of the healing or whatever else that this person has to realize to you. Because after all, God has sent you, right, in this particular role.
Yes.
So you
that
have
is my conflict.
Yeah, so you have completed whatever role जहाँ तक आप कर सकती थी. जैसे एक स्टूडेंट आपके पास आता है, पेरेंट से उसको 100 on 100 मिलना चाहिए. आप कह रही भाई मैं जितनी कोशिश कर सकती हूँ उतनी मैं कर सकती हूँ. हाँ, अब बच्चे को 80 on 100 मिला है, वो 20% नहीं. I'm sorry, but I was not able to help him to get 100 on 100. इसमें मेरी कोई गलती नहीं है. भाई गलती वो बच्चे की भी तो है ना, उसने भी तो उतना एफर्ट नहीं डाला. तो इसी तरह से वो अगर बीवी ने 80% एफर्ट डाला है और वो दूसरे व्यक्ति ने 20% एफर्ट भी नहीं डाला है, तो उसमें आपकी तो गलती नहीं है. So you can do that, and you can say, I choose to free myself from this role that that you had sent me for, and the rest of it you can take care of. That's all.
तो वो प्रारब्ध उसका फिनिश हो जाएगा ना?
Absolutely, because it is all being done with awareness.
ये
बहुत important है. किसी के तुम्हारे कहने पे वो नहीं कर रही है ना? तुमने आप बोल सकते ये चीजें, बट करना उसको है। तो उसको लगा यस दिस इज परफेक्ट फॉर मी, देन सो बी इट, इट्स ऑल राइट, इट्स नो प्रॉब्लम।
थैंक यू
मैम
सो मच।
हाँ जी
मैम, जैसे आप बता रहे हैं कि वो यू बाउ डाउन एंड यू से कि अच्छा इतना ही कर सकती थी, क्या उसके बाद कॉर्ड कटिंग नहीं कर सकते हैं जैसे
कर
आपने
सकते हैं।
सिखाया?
you can change the color of the cord, you can dissolve the cord, you can create distance from the person. ये सब आप in that space of healing आप कर सकते हैं ना,
Healing,
after the
हाँ
past life session is over,
हाँ जी,
और फिर आप वहां पे लेकर जाएंगे उसको healing space, वहां पे you can do all that. But what Urvi is saying is करने के बाद भी अगर that person is feeling that heaviness, तो फिर उसको कॉन्शियस डिसीजन लेना पड़ेगा कि क्या करना है उसको लाइफ, है ना? ओके, एनीथिंग एल्स?
थैंक यू।
Okay, thank you Sangita once more, and thank you everybody for being present here.
Really.
It was a wonderful
Thank you so
session.
much, everybody.
Thank you.